All right, I'm on hole one of the Shiruba Springs. This is hole one in the 2020 Winter Major. Let's check it out. Hole one, par four. Starting off with a big par four here. I've hit this hole once. I I think the only hole that I haven't played is 8, and I may have played it. I still have some video to go through. I was trying to play last night. I've been intentionally missing putts to help people out, to get people back in the game and to do the deal. And I have not been getting, people won't replay. I just do not understand it. So I want to see if I check my red line here. So see where my red line's at with a 3 power ball. Now, I'm just trying to think out loud here. If we had a bigger power ball, we may be able to reach over to the other side. But unless you've got an extra mile 9 or you've got something with lots of topspin on it, but a big topper is not going to work because your red line's going to, even if you brought a big power, if you brought a 5 power ball with an extra mile, your red line may be over in this fairway, but with the big topper, you're still going to end up being where you're at. Just wondering, the next time I get on here, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to see if I can bleed out into this area. But it may be better to not come at this hole with an extra mile trying to get up into here. But it might be better to bring in more accurate clubs and try and get up into the front of this fairway area here. There is a little bit of risk involved in coming over here to the right-hand side, but if we can get up to the front of this, our goal here is to try and get into short iron range. I am going to explore to see if it's possible to bridge this rough area here to get up. But your best case scenario, you're at the end of the run. Your best case scenario is that you bleed forward here, but I think you're still going to be in your short iron range, and it would be fairly risky to try and get through this rough at the end of the run. But if we could get down to the end of this tip, we may be in our short iron range versus going to the right. You have to get down there. You know, if you do the arc on this, you're going to have to get down into this area on the other side. It's not that it's not possible, but it is a little bit harder. And you'll definitely have to bring a club with a bunch of topspin to try and get down in there versus trying to go to the left. Let's see where I end up here. Part of the deal here, too, is when we're practicing, and I don't blame Playdemic for it, almost every one of these holes we're getting headwind or we're getting some kind of wind that's, you know, not what we're going to get in the tournament. We're not going to get on this hole a 5-4 headwind. We're probably going to get a tailwind or some kind of a side wind or some kind of wind that will help us move in a forward direction as opposed to something that's pushing us down. So let's look at where I ended up versus where the end of this tip is. And so I'm on pretty much that same line. And so I think it might be okay. It might be the better shot to try and get down into here. Now, I normally, if I've got two choices like this, the thing about hitting down into an area like this right here is that you can overhit it and end up in the rough, but you can get up and down from there. So the risk is that you're not going to get the perfect shot with your short iron. The reward is that if you didn't end up in the rough, you've got a perfect shot with your short iron. So distance-wise, when we draw the arc on here, I think if you can get up into the front of this, you are potentially in your short iron range. So you can see where I'm at right there. So on the arc, I'm in long iron, and I am right at the transition between long and short iron. And so I think what I'm going to do on this hole is play that lower line. But there's definitely, look at the, when you see the stuff out there in the community, and I'm gonna rewind that just a bit because I wanna so we can really get a good look at that. Did I go past it? So when I'll hold on, let me get to the right spot so we can see that. So when you're looking at the green and you're looking at the area over here on the right hand side, and this area that I was talking about on the left that we could hit down to the end, this area here is much lower than the area that we're hitting to over here on the right. So the green is elevated from the area that we're here, and this area is even lower. So if you're coming out here, if the majority of the community is going out here and you see these win numbers, this is why I'm always suspect about win numbers. I see the win numbers just like everybody else that comes out there where people are saying, hey, man, we need to add on 10% or we need to add on 20 or we need to add on 15. Okay, where are you hitting? Are you hitting to this lower area where it's even lower, or are you hitting up here where it's in the middle? Because if you're hitting down here in the lower area and we're doing a straight 10%, that may or may not work. So if you do decide to go in the lower area and you're doing, what is it? I think we've got 10%. They're saying that we should do a 10% wind adjustment on this hole. Is that from the upper area or from the lower area? So when you see those numbers come out in the community, and if you watch my videos on a regular basis and I seem suspect about them, is because I'm suspect about them until I try them in my game with my clubs from where I'm landing on the course. Because there is going to be a difference in how we're going to adjust for this lower shot versus this upper shot based on elevation. And if we look at this elevation rise here and then there isn't an adjustment, then it's jacked. There should be a different adjustment for the lower shot to the left than there is to the shot in the fairway on the right. Just showing you that when you're looking at these elevation numbers or when we're adding on or subtracting out wind. The next time I come, I've only seen this hole once. This is the one and only time I caught it. And the next time I get on this hole, I'm going to explore that lower area, because if you can get down there to the tip of that lower area and you're in your short iron range, I think that's the way I'm going to play this week. If I get way down into that tip and I'm not in my short iron range, then I'm going to explore the area on the right, because we definitely want to get into short iron, because I'm right at the red line right here between short iron and long iron. Another 15, 20 yards, and I would definitely be in my short iron instead. And I'd much rather come at these holes with my short iron. Now, the Grizzly is an awesome club. Now, my wind adjustment here, I'm doing 2.5 rings. It's a 100% accurate club, but I'm in minimum club. And the way I play my long iron is at minimum club, it's 1.75 per ring. So I got a 2.5 ring adjustment to work out that 4.4 wind. And unfortunately, I hit it great to the left. And it ends up just a little great to the left. So that's another thing we're going to have to look at when we're on these holes is, especially on holes like this. On a hole like this, you're striving to get up into the area where you can be in your short iron, but you end up a little short of that and you're in your minimum long iron. Be aware of where your red line stuff is, because your club's going to hit different at minimum than it hits at max. And so you have to be prepared for that. So on your notes, on my notes, I put on there Grizzly 1.75, Hornet 1.1. So if I'm in my Hornet, I'm in max club, because it was everything I could do to get into my Hornet range. If I didn't quite make it, then I know I'm going to be in my minimum Grizzly. And I want to have those numbers on my notes. And now I have a separate note sheet with the numbers for my clubs, but I actually have my tournament notes. I've got those numbers on there because those are the two potential clubs that I'm going to be using to come into the hole. All right, let's go take a look at that hole. So what I'm talking about here as far as elevation. So this is the peak, this is the mid, this is the low part in our elevation. But where I was out in this area right here, I'm at minimum long iron to come in. And when we draw our arc in that, I think there is an area here on the tip of this where we can get into our short iron range. And so I'm going to explore what that looks like down here. But I'm not sure what kind of adjustment we're going to have to make other than just our normal wind adjustments once we get down there. Because like I said, I haven't taken it yet, but this is definitely worth exploring. If you've got lower developed clubs, I think getting down in here so that you can get to this tip is going to be a more repeatable shot than trying to bring your ball up here and trying to get forward movement. This is going to be pretty straightforward, and I think you could play this with a QB, a rock, one of your more accurate clubs, to try and get it up and down. And I'm seeing on a lot of these holes, we're going to be bringing out It's not absolutely necessary that you bring out a bigger ball on this. You can bring out a marlin and be out here in your long iron range and get up and down. It's not going to be a big issue. But if we do bring out a bigger ball, what's going to happen is, number one, it could potentially help us get more distance on our drive. But where it's really going to help us is it's going to put us into our club on this shot. So where I was at out here with where I was right at that transition between long iron and short iron, if I had a lower power ball, I would definitely be in my long iron. So it just helps push that forward, especially if you're trying to get all the way down here so that you can get in your short iron range. You're probably going to need to bring a 3 power ball in order to get into your short iron range. All right, that was hole number 1 of Shiruba Springs. That'll be hole number 1 in the 2020 Winter Major. Thanks for watching.